Welcome to the Millennial Rant, a podcast about whatever's bothering me today. With topics ranging from politics to pop culture, there's a rant to cover everyone. For more Millennial Rant content, you can join me on the web at millennialrant.com.
I feel like I should preface this video by saying that I was never one of those kids who thought my parents didn't know anything and that they had no idea what they were talking about and that they didn't understand me or what it was like to be a teenager or what it was like to be a 20-something or that they didn't get it. Never that person. To this day, I still think my parents are the smartest, most amazing, most well-versed people I've ever met in my entire life, and the sun rises and sets on them and you can't change my mind. But I do also recognize that there are those who think the opposite about their parents at some point in their lives, that they, don't know what they're talking about, that they are, being unreasonable, that they're being abusive because they're making you live up to a certain standard. They're being, intolerant. They're being whatever. Take your pick. Pull it out of a hat. There's probably some kid somewhere who said it about their parents. But here's the thing, though. Your parents are most likely right. If you are living your life in such a way that your parents feel they have to come down on you and say you need to change something, or maybe you should look in a different direction, or maybe you should not do that, or you have to be home at a certain time because what if something happens or whatever, they're probably right. As just straight up, they're probably right. Because your parents care about you and where you are and how you're doing and how you're growing up. Also, they're more advanced than you, psychologically speaking. They have it all together in their brains, and I mean that literally. It's not until you're like 25 that the front and back half of your mind are properly connected. And that's what allows critical thinking back and forth, the future thinking, I guess I should say, where you start thinking about consequences to actions that are taken. So, obviously, kids overall are not necessarily unreasonable, although I think that we're breeding kids to be more and more unreasonable as time goes on, because that's a good idea, but I digress. So, what am I getting at? Don't hate your parents for loving you, because odds are, in 20 years or so, you're going to look back on that and say, you know what? They were right. That guy I was dating was a loser. That car I wanted to buy didn't make any sense financially as a decision. And that job that I quit, I totally could have padded out my resume with. There are things that we do when we're young and dumb that have lasting consequences, and your parents have already been through those years where they were young and dumb, and at the very least you have the opportunity to learn from the mistakes that they made, the dumb things that they did, so that you don't have to repeat the ones that they already did. You're free to make your own mistakes. But this whole wishy-washy parenting thing that we've got going on now, where parents are like, well, I just want my kid to be able to figure out their own life. They can figure out their own life when they're grown up and they have their life together to figure out. But if kids aren't given strict guidance, if they're not given discipline, if they're not, and by discipline I don't mean punishment, I mean structure, I mean, having things in such a way that they recognize the way things are. When you're a kid, your life isn't a democracy. It's a dictatorship. And it's that way for a reason. Because your parents love you and they want what's best for you. So the next time you feel like slamming the door and saying, I hate you, maybe take a step back and try your best to work with both hemispheres of your brain and think about, what will I be thinking about this situation in 20 years? Because when you're 16, it's all in the moment, right? It's all right now. It's all what I need, what I feel, what I hope, what I want. And those things change. I will tell you now, it's just a phase. The part of your life that you're in at 16, it's an eye blink by the time you're even 26. And you look back on your past self and you go, wow, that was dumb. Why did I do that? And so take the advice that your parents offer, however nicely or unnicely they may offer it, and think about the fact that they do love you and they do want what's best for you. And maybe when they stop you from doing something, it is in your best interest. Or when they push you to keep doing something, it may also be in your best interest. I know somebody who played the piano when they were young who really enjoyed it. And then as they got older, they decided that this is for sissies and why would I want to do that? And when pressed, the parents just said, okay, well, if that's what you want to do. And then in getting into the 20s, looking back, why did my parents let me do that? Why did they let me quit? I could have continued playing the piano all of this time. I could be, if not, a master pianist, I could at least still be proficient. That's a skill that I'd be able to pass on to my kids. Why would they let me quit if I had the talent? So think about the long term. Don't just think about the here and now, because the here and now will be done and gone like that. Give your parents the benefit of the doubt. If they love you, then they want what's best for you. And maybe they don't necessarily always know what's best, but they're pretty good at spotting what's worst.